nice you guys put it here so you don't put it between you and us. But it's kind of nice that everyone has another handle that they're gonna see later on. Things are changing.
On Facebook, you're going to be on many Facebooks this evening.
Yeah. Very cool image. Thank you for being here.
I wanted just to kick off with both of the projects that brought you here. And maybe you could tell us and share with us how you got to those projects. Robert, how you got from directing, producing films into the television business, into basically becoming a TV mogul, as I say. That's what you are, because you're the head of a TV network. And Diego, how did you move from acting and producing and directing a big, important film that we saw last night? I mean, those are all kind of moves that you've recently made, so who wants to start?
Well, my early filming career started right around a little bit earlier when I met you, but it had a lot to do with it. With the trajectory of it was when I met you. When I was a film student at the University of Texas in Austin, and you showed us, we took a class on Latin images, Latino images film. And it started off by showing us, I'm going to show you a scene from a very popular movie. He showed us the opening scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a big reaction. It was really cool to see. And he goes, now I want you to watch it again, and I want you to point out all the Latin images that you see. And then we watched it again with that in mind. It's like, oh, there's the one who's afraid, the one who's treacherous, the one who's this. I mean,
right.
Negative, like 5 negative images in a row.
And the indigenous chasing at the end.
And it made you rethink what you watched. And he said, be careful with the images that you put out there. And it was like, wow, that was really eye-opening for me. And I had already, I don't know if I'd already done Bedhead or not, but I remember I showed you my short film Bedhead with the young Mexican-American cast. And then my next film was a mariachi. And I always kept that in mind, just the imaging that you produce. And I really wanted to make films that were entertaining for everybody to watch, but for those who were Hispanic could look at it and say, we're the hero, or we're the creators, or there's positive role models, and their images are being considered. And I did that for about 20 years. Then this opportunity came up to own a television network. Comcast, there's an opportunity in Comcast to own a minority network. And I seized it right away because I knew my kids, 5 kids, they really didn't have anything on television that represented who they were in this country, being second, third generation, English-speaking Hispanic. And there was 112 English language networks in the U.S., 10 of which were African-American, but there was no English language Hispanic network. They were the largest minority. But there were 2 dog networks. So I thought, okay, somebody's got to do something. Somebody has to do something. And it tends to be a very imitative business, and Hollywood is not always as innovative as you think. They kind of wait for someone to do it first, and then they will imitate. So it looked like that was a big gap that no one had really braved enough to go and be first and try. They knew it all needed to exist, but nobody really knew how to go about it. So I thought, let's try it. Even if we don't succeed, Elisa will break it down, to doors down, so that people will be able to do it again, maybe more successfully or better. So we created the El Rey Network, and the reason I'm here for this festival was to premiere our first show for the network, which was, it was interesting doing research. Walking Dead really over-indexes Hispanic viewers. And I thought, oh, we could do From Dusk Till Dawn. So it's a great show to kind of draw people's attention to the network so that people can hear about the network. I didn't think it would be a good idea to create the first show, a show no one heard of on the network. So let's go for a show that people know the name. From Dusk Till Dawn. Quinn's characters have never been on TV. I'd never done television. I thought that would be a nice draw. It was a popular name. People always loved that movie and would come up to us and say, this is one of their favorite movies of ours. And so I thought it was very expandable, and also because most of it takes place in Mexico, and you could, bring in this Aztec and Mayan mythologies and kind of explore some really cool stuff in a very fantastical way, but have, most of the, more than half the cast is Hispanic, most of the writers are Hispanic, most of the directors are Hispanic. It'd be a good way to push this view of this intention of the network, but still make something that's popular and entertaining for anybody who just wants to see something cool and kind of kick ass. So that's why we were here. And I just got a call today from the head of Fox TV. He watches El Rey in his office. Because he only has 3 other TVs in there. It's 4 TVs up there. One of them is El Rey. So we're doing something right. We're watching to see how are they doing it, what are they doing, how are they doing it.
Yeah, and I think part of it is just everybody does it a certain way, but you're breaking a number of rules.
Also just to be outside of, by doing it outside of Los Angeles too, it's like, really kind of just do your own thing. And when he mentioned had his own identity right away, really see her networking on his own.
Se lo estás grabando a Juanito. Me mandó para eso.
I really want to do a lot of outreach.
Sí, pero no te... Sí, estás bien. Ok. Sí, es que estaba... Es que se me juntó otra.
Where now they've got what you got right into absolutely. Just think about it. You got a network now that means it's completely different when you're a filmmaker. You know, we have to still go to a distributor. You make a film, you have to go to someone to put it in theaters, to someone to put it on television, to someone to put it on the internet. But if you have a distribution pipeline of your own, you can bypass all that. Go right to the people. Instead of taking in so much of executives to see if it's okay for prime time, you go to the audience and let them decide. So people don't have to say, oh, well, I don't think it might be too Hispanic. Well, let's let the audience say that. Let's let them tell us. And then they can decide, let them vote. And so it's a direct pipeline where filmmakers can go and speak to an audience and say whatever they want to say. And that's the big picture of poetry.
Yeah, and you're the committee of suits that approves of it.
I'm the suit, as you see. I don't quite wear
It's in the Ray suit.
as dressed up as I get.
Diego, so Diego began as a child actor. He's been in the business for a long time, a lot of experience acting. After that, recently in 2006, I think, Canada established distribution, then production, then began directing, directed a documentary, directed a feature, directed one of the installments in Revolucion 2010. And then, you know, Sxsw. So tell us how you went from acting to producing and particularly directing. How did that happen?
Well, first, yeah, as you said, I started working as a child, as a kid. So I was
Telenovelas, right?
in telenovelas, theater. We were not doing cinema in Mexico at all. We were doing 5-6 films a year, so there was no way to be part of that. But theater was happening, and I was just very lucky not to become an addict and get lost, you know, because I was way too famous for the wrong reasons at 11. 11 years old, yeah. And then I've been trying to erase that from my resume, but you keep...
It's on IMDb, you'll never erase it.
My dark past, yeah.
If you want to do.
But I guess I've been acting for quite a long time, and even though I enjoy it a lot, I started feeling I was hoping to impose my point of view in the stuff I was working, and I guess I started to become a pain in the ass for directors, you know, like, because you're supposed to be a tool for someone else's point of view. You have to agree, you have to believe in that voice, but then you have to follow and let them use you, and more in cinema than anything, you know, because I think cinema is for directors like theater is for actors, you know. In cinema, the only one that has control on what's going to happen is the director. The only one that knows what the film is gonna end up saying and how it's gonna work is the director. You as an actor, many times you think you were part of a film that then you watch and you go like, really? Was that important, or it was gonna be always from the point of view of that little kid? That happens because not many directors like sharing with their team what they're doing, you know? Many keep it very secretive. And anyway, so besides ruining other people's films, I decided to produce first and finding out if getting involved in everything that happens before and after actors are part of the project. And I got in love with the idea of following something for so long, you know, because it becomes then a very intense and personal experience, and it's about the journey and what you learn in the process. For a long time, I thought film was about the premiere, the festival, the red carpet, and the review the next morning, you know, and that's so far from actually something that matters. You know, this is like a bubble we create. We go to festivals, and suddenly everyone cares about what we do. Everything is about filmmaking, and you know, you go out and everyone wants to talk to you, and then you go to the real world, and there's other things, and you're just part of someone's life. Anyway, I went so the thing is, I wanted to direct because I became a father. I think that's when it happened. You know? I said, okay, I need to be capable of telling my own stories and engaging with someone. You know, I have to be the narrator now. I have to be behind the story I'm telling, and I have to believe in the story. And I want to talk about things that matter to me because somehow I have a feeling I have to leave my kids in a better place than the one I got to live in. And I think film has that power, and that's why I'm behind the stories we're telling. And that's why I also enjoy a lot producing, because when I find a voice or when I find someone that has an idea, I love to draw attention to stuff that matters, you know. So many times I've had a microphone in front of me without knowing what to say, or you know, that it's amazing to be able to draw that attention to someone. So we created a film festival of documentaries that travel around Mexico, and it's just because of that. So the Cesar Chavez film came because my son was born in California, and that was 5 years ago. And I realized there was a Mexican American that belonged to my family, and that I knew very little about Mexican Americans and about the Latino experience here. And I didn't want my son to be part of a fractured community, you know, because I am Mexican. I was born in Mexico, raised in Mexico, and if you talk about Cesar Chavez in Mexico, everyone goes like, yeah, the boxer, that's so cool. You're doing another film about the boxer, I have no idea. It's not just a man, it's a movement, it's a message, and it's part of us, it belongs to us. And yeah. Same thing happens on this side of the border, you know, what's going on in Latin America, it's not well known. You talk to people and they keep talking about a Latin America or about a Mexico that it's from the past, you know, right. Things are changing. There's a young generation doing and inventing and finding new ways and not asking for permission, just doing whatever they want, and we could be connected. And as Cesar Chavez said, our strength is in our numbers. If we realize how many we are, if we consider ourselves part of the same thing, with all the richness and complexity and diversity that we have, you know, that the Latino community has here and that Latin America has. But if we find that in common, that connects us and not what separates us, then we'll be ruling the world. Or at least having a lot of freedom that we deserve, you know.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you.
I don't know if I answered why I became a director. Because I don't know yet, it's just that
Well, if you watch your film, you know why. Did anybody see Cesar Chavez? Let's go. Powerful movie, fantastic work. And that was a 4-year journey making that?
it was a 4-year journey, and that's exactly why we have to be connected, you know. We went and shot in every studio here, like what you normally do. You go and pitch them the story, and we received always this like, oh, that's an amazing thing. I'm glad you guys are doing it. Please show it once it's done, and we might join you. Well, no, we need money to do it. We need you to pay. And every studio said no, basically. A few said, this is the one I love the most. They said, can you make the story more sexy?
Yeah.
Like, it was a little more sexy, they would be getting paid. Yeah.
Or a couple shootouts and chases.
It's a distribution company.
Yeah.
Where do you distribute?
We distribute in Mexico and different platforms too, but we take film to cinemas and then we put it out in iTunes and all those things. And we distribute around 15 titles a year. And then we have
from all over the world, right?
yeah. It's just basically the
It's
films
just vision
that
from Mexico.
don't have the size that will make sense
Right.
business-wise.
Did you take